It is with the greatest pleasure and excitement that I introduce you to my very first full wax seal collection. This exclusive partnership with Artesire has been several months in the making, and I could not be more thrilled to have it out in the world and available to you at last. I have been asked many times in the past several years for a full garden full of floral wax seals, and it is high time that I delivered. This collection comes with more than just wax seals though. I've also designed a full wedding suite collection to go with these new wax seals, and I hope that you will love them just as much as the wax seals. But before we jump too deep into the wedding paper goods, I'd really like to take a good look at the wax seals. That is one of the things that we come together for after all. We've created wax seal videos, whether it's tutorial videos, tip videos, testing things out, and so I'd like to deep dive into these new wax seals and introduce you to the full collection. One design that you might recognize is our Botanical initial, for I am so excited that it is now available through Artesire's website. You'll see that each one has a slightly different arrangement for the florals, and I know that you'll love this element of the collection just as much as I do. And before we get too far, I want you to keep in mind, keep a track of which one is your favorite. So far, I've already lost a bet as to which one will be the least favorite, so I'm really excited to hear what is the most favorite and see if I've guessed correctly. Up next, it wouldn't be a secret garden collection without a lock and key. In this case, we have this beautiful, elaborate oval design that is inspired by kind of the historic antique keyholes. I was really inspired by them. I went through and I was like studying them and researching them, and I just really loved this style with kind of the filigrees on them. It took me a couple tries to get it just right, but I'm so happy with it. Maybe someday I can talk Artesire into letting me make a key, but for now I'm super excited to be able to feature this design for the Secret Garden collection. So not only is this design available for you as a kind of a stock design, a one and done design, there are personalization options for you as well. Instead of the keyhole, include your monogram on there and make it a little bit more personal. Now, it wouldn't be a collection of any type from me without some roses. So of course I had to include the Climbing Rose wax seal, which also has a personalization option. And this design was actually inspired by the wall mural in my office, you can see it behind me, that we painted a couple of years ago. I know that you guys have wanted to have this available for you as wallpaper, and while it's not yet, I did the next best thing. I'm able to give you guys wax seals, so we went with a wax seal inspired by this beautiful design, and I hope that you love it just as much as I do. Sticking with the theme of florals, I also have a tulip inspired piece. This has a little bit more of an almost symmetrical floral design, which you'll see a lot in printmaking or patterns. So I was really inspired by those, and I knew I wanted to have a wax seal that kind of implemented that. It's not just cookie cutter on each side, there's just different quirks, different personalities to each one, which makes it so that, I don't know, you just kind of keep looking at this seal and there's something new to discover every time you stamp it. Of course, there is a personalization option for this one. I love the asymmetrical design. I kept playing around with something that was more symmetrical, and I just didn't love it as much as this one. This one might be my favorite personalized option. I just really like the way it came together. I love how the florals peek in from the side. It just seems so romantic and whimsical to me. Our last main floral is forget-me-nots, and it's hard not to love forget-me-nots, right? You have to have them somewhere. Beautiful, petite blue flowers. These, I decided to do more of a zoomed-in approach this time around. I kind of played around with a smaller one, but I thought being able to see those petals, and I was able to kind of add some design elements that called to other wax seals in this collection, so I felt like it was a good way to kind of ground this piece. There's also a lot of forget-me-nots featured in the invitations, which we'll get to in just a minute. However, as much as I love the stock, I really like the personalized options. I went with something a little bit smaller, which again, I had played around with and decided against, but I love that you can have either or. I love that about this seal, and again, with the collection of wedding papers, I love that it's so versatile overall. This is one of those stampers that you can get it, and it goes with at least half of the collection really well. Moving away from florals, another theme that you've seen throughout my wax seals is that I kind of like birds. So I've even got them on my mural behind me. I do love a bird, and something that I had searched for a while was a swan wax seal, and I just couldn't find one. And then when my dear friend Emily asked me to design one, you know I had to deliver. So thank you, Emily, for this idea. This one is dedicated to you. A beautiful swan wax seal. I love this in the oval format. I love the ways that you can like really enjoy the grace and simplicity that this design creates. Even more so, I love the symbolism behind the personalized option. With this option, we included 2 swans and a monogram underneath, and I just love how simple and sweet it is. I love that, you know, there's obviously kind of a more dominant masculine swan who is protecting and caring for the other. I think that's a beautiful image of marriage where they're coming together, protecting and loving each other. That was just a fun way to elaborate on this design in order to create a more personalized option. So perfect for weddings, of course, but so fun just to have in general. And last but certainly not least is the fountain design, another oval format. This one I actually originally designed to be on a round wax seal, but when they switched it to the oval, I fell in love. Now this one, I really wasn't sure. I kind of kept like going back and forth, and I would put it in and I'd take it out and I put it in and take it out. But I've loved hearing some of the feedback from you guys on Instagram already that you love this design. I'm so glad. Because like I said, it was one of those where I felt like it fit with the theme. I loved pulling in kind of the architectural element. It wasn't something that I've seen before. I love the way the wax mimics water as it's rippling out of the fountain. And I don't know, I just kind of loved having it included. But it's not flowers, it's not, you know, an animal. And so I was a little unsure about including it, but I'm so glad that I did. Now with this design, instead of having the oval personalized option, I ended up going back to the circle. I thought it would be more affordable and easier to make available to all of you. So I kind of mimicked what I had done with the tulips. I thought that turned out really well. And I love the asymmetrical design to this. I love that you still get the effect of the fountain, but it's a little bit more abstract. You can get some of that sturdiness and that strength from the architectural elements. I don't know. I like the juxtaposition. I like the juxtaposition of that. And that is the full Secret Garden Wax Seal collection. I hope that you are as excited as I am about it. I would love to hear your favorite one down below. It's been so interesting to hear what everybody likes. It definitely hasn't followed what I predicted, which is great and interesting, and also a little bit like, I thought I knew which one would be the best. So that's been really interesting to hear what everybody's favorite is. But yeah, we'll see what the favorite is coming up. All right, moving on to the wedding invitations. Now, I know that this isn't for everybody, but it does include like some thank you cards and some snail mail items in here that I am excited to share with you and just make available. To start, we have the Climbing Roses Suite. Now, as you can probably guess by looking at it, it was also inspired by this creation that we made a few years ago on my wall. Who knew that drawing on my wall would end up inspiring so many different things? This suite is simple in the fact that it's a lot of line illustrations. So there's not a ton of punchy color, a lot of variation here, but the same repetitive pattern, the same few design elements. It's a little bit more stately than some of my other designs. It's more clean and elegant without losing its femininity. Of course, we have a lot of roses because this is the Climbing Rose Suite, which again pairs beautifully with either the Botanical initial or the Climbing Roses stamper. Hands down, my favorite part of the suite are the envelopes, and you might hear that as a theme. I haven't had the opportunity to design a lot of envelopes in the past, and so I was thrilled by the challenge of designing these envelopes. And I love how the toile takes something as ordinary as an envelope and makes it extraordinary and makes it beautiful. It's just so simple, and I love how it just ties in with everything. So that has been super fun to play with, and I hope that you like that as much as I do. Up next, we have the suite called Garden Gate. This one is inspired by architectural filigrees. I love kind of the playful elements, the natural grace, and the stately elegance that is added with these architectural elements. However, we decided to play it up a little more. So again, this is a secret garden theme. So while we have these architectural elements, we wanted to kind of age them, soften them a little bit by adding some florals in there. So it gives it this beautiful, I don't know, it's just this beautiful contrast with like the lacy, more organic florals and then these structured filigrees. So in and out of these different filigrees and architectural elements, you'll find forget-me-nots throughout the suite, and the forget-me-nots were again repeated in that previously mentioned wax seal design. One thing that I love about this design is the versatility of it. I went with a monochrome, more formal color palette, and that allows it to be very stately, very black tie, and very elegant. However, you can also switch up the color palette and give it a much more playful look overall without losing some of that elegance. Again, the Garden Gate suite goes with the Secret Lock stamper, the Fountain stamper, and the Forget-Me-Not stamper. And the Botanical initial, but that one kind of goes with all of them. Next up, we have the Hearts of Flutter design. Now, this was my wild card. It doesn't directly go with any of the designs except the Botanical initial, but I just loved this design. I loved how we were able to bring something else other than just flowers and gates into the design element to kind of embody that idea of the garden and the secrecy and the beauty and just the wildness that's in there. And so we included a butterfly suite, which I really love, and I hope that you will love as well. This design features watercolor butterflies as well as a lot of watercolor greenery, and that's seen throughout. I also included some line illustrations, whether they were frames, structured frames, or the butterflies themselves, or various greenery. Oddly enough, I actually love the way that this piece pairs with the Secret Lock design as well. Again, they weren't designed to go together necessarily, but having like the structure and the elegance breaking through, it actually works really well. Next, we have the Swan Lake suite, and I bet you'll never guess which wax seal is designed to go with it. Of course, the Botanical initial is designed to go with it, but this suite is designed for the Swan wax seal and the Fountain wax seal. This design features a full watercolor landscape. The Swan Lake suite is the only design that has a formal crest, while the others might have frames or a monogram, and it's carried throughout the entire suite. But one unique thing about this suite is the custom design toile that goes throughout the suite. This is also featured on the envelopes, on the menus, and the save the dates, with illustrated elements that you can see carried throughout the entire suite in a very graceful and elegant way. And I just love how it captures kind of the feeling of a garden without screaming like florals. Exactly. So we had to kind of include some of that as well. And last but certainly not least, and might possibly be my favorite, is the Tete design. This, as Tete implies, kind of like a small intimate chat. This has a lot of small, intimate, petite florals, and I just love the way this turned out. It was one of those that I was really second guessing myself on, and I kept going back to and wondering if it was quite right. But seeing it all come together and all printed in hand, oh, it's exactly what I wanted it to be and more. This one is much more playful and colorful. It's a great opportunity to play with those florals, but not too girly. So I've paired it with a lot of structured stripes, which can bring in a little bit of like a grand millennial feel, but also some masculine elements to help ground everything and to keep it from becoming too feminine. This one as well has a custom pattern on the envelopes, and I just love the way that it captures the elegance of this suite. However, my favorite for this suite is probably the way the belly band goes around it. So it is a watercolor print on the vellum. It just really brings all those colors in, and I just love the way it layers, especially with a wax seal on it. Now this suite, I worked pretty hard on making sure that there were different ways that you could incorporate wax seals should you choose to use them in your wedding invitations. So this design features multiple locations where you could add a wax seal, whether it is a personalized wax seal or just something that you find beautiful, in order to bring a little bit more personality and uniqueness to your design. Now the Tete suite is designed to specifically go with many wax seals. Not only the Botanical initial, which I know we've mentioned with all of them, but that one's just the most universal, but also the tulips and the forget-me-nots are featured in this suite. But I also find that the Climbing Rose suite works really well with this, just because the way the tulips laid out, it just kind of gives that effect overall. So I really feel like you could use any of the floral wax seals with this one, just because the flowers are so diverse in this. Another thing, if you have a chance to look at this invitation design, I've hidden a lot of extra elements. There's a lot of like petite butterflies or ladybugs hidden throughout this invitation, and I just would love to hear if you're able to find them. And that, my friends, concludes the quick overview of the Secret Garden collection. I would love to hear down below what you think. Again, what's your favorite wax seal design? I know that we've talked about wax seals so much in the past, and I trust your opinion and your judgment so much. I would just love to hear what you think and what your favorites are. If you made it this far, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you, how much I value your investment, even just by your interest in this collection and just kind of what I'm doing, what I'm creating. I thank you so much for your support over the past several months as I've been working on this while trying to raise our young children. And I'm just so excited. Thank you for celebrating with me. Thank you for making this possible. Thank you for continuing to support us. And I will have everything linked down below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comment section as well. And until next time, happy stamping.